JSON Web Tokens are absolutely everywhere in modern web development, from React apps to Node.js APIs, to mobile applications, and to microservices. But here's the scary truth. About 90% of developers are implementing JSON Web Tokens in ways that create serious security vulnerabilities in their applications. Today, we're going to dive deep into using JSON Web Tokens for authorization, not just authentication. I'll show you exactly how JSON Web Tokens work for controlling what users can access, the proper authorization patterns you should follow, and quite importantly, the 5 biggest mistakes that developers make when using JSON Web Tokens for authorization. Now let's start off with what is a JSON Web Token and how is it structured? A JSON Web Token is a compact URL-safe way to securely transmit information between parties. Think of it as a digital passport that carries information about a user. A JSON Web Token consists of 3 parts separated by dots, and it looks something like this. The first part is the header, which contains metadata about the token, typically something like this. Now, what you see on the screen tells us the type of algorithm that was used to sign the token, and that it is a JSON Web Token. Now, the second part is the payload, which usually contains the actual claims or data about that user. For example, something like this. This type of data might include the user ID, their name, when the token expires, and other relevant information. The third part of the token is the token signature, which is the cryptographic proof that the token hasn't been tampered with. Now here's the crucial point that many developers miss. The header and the payload are just base 64 URL encoded. They're not encrypted. Anyone can decode and read this information. The security comes from the signature, which prevents it from tampering, but not from hiding the data. But you still get developers who think, well, I'll just add roles and permissions to my JSON Web Token payload and check them in my code. So they create tokens like this. You have the user ID, the role, which is an admin, and some permissions of read for users and delete for posts. And then these developers feel clever. Now, JSON Web Token-based authorization creates more problems than it solves. And that's exactly why authorization platforms like Permit exist. All right, let me tell you why DIY JSON Web Token authorization fails. Building authorization with JWTs seems simple, but it quickly becomes a security and maintenance nightmare. You end up writing authorization logic scattered across your codebase. You try to manage complex permissions and their hierarchies in specific token payloads, and then you start struggling with real-time permission updates. The fundamental problem is this. Authorization is not just about storing permissions. It's about policy management, different role hierarchies, resource-based access control, audit trials, real-time updates. This is exactly why companies like Airbnb and Netflix and thousands of others use dedicated authorization platforms. Permit.io provides the infrastructure you need. It provides things like policy engines, fine-grained permissions, real-time updates, audit logs, and very developer-friendly APIs that integrate seamlessly with your existing JSON Web Token authentication. Let me rapid fire through the 5 biggest mistakes I see with JSON Web Token authorization, and I'll give you real-life examples. Mistake number 1, using local storage and authorization data, which means storing JSON Web Tokens with permission data in local storage. As you can see in this code example, they're storing admin permissions in local storage. And more specifically, the actual token, which is horrible practice. And yes, it does actually happen. One XSS attack through a compromised NPM package or ad network, and this simple script literally steals admin access. Suddenly, hackers have admin permissions to your entire system. Now, the props of Permit.io is that if you use it, it keeps authorization server-side logic where it belongs, which is the proper way to do things. Mistake number 2, static permission tokens. Long-lived JSON Web Tokens with embedded permissions can be updated when the roles change. Let's imagine a real scenario. Sarah gets promoted from editor to admin, but her JSON Web Token won't reflect this change for another 6 hours until it expires. Or worse, John gets fired, but his JSON Web Token with admin permissions keeps working until the expiration. Now, if you were to use Permit.io, it will provide you with real-time permission checks and instant revocation. You fire someone, their access ends immediately. Mistake number 3, no policy management. Authorization logic scattered everywhere in your codebase is absolute hell. I mean, look at this nightmare. It's a bunch of if statements. Now, imagine this. You have 3 different authorization patterns in one codebase. If the requirements change, you're literally hunting through hundreds of files to find the if statements. If you were to use solutions like Permit, they give you a visual policy editor and a centralized dashboard for policy management, which avoids you having that headache. Mistake number 4, missing audit trails, which means zero visibility into accessing patterns. When auditors ask, who accessed patient data last month? And you have no answers, when there's a data breach, you can't trace the access patterns. Permit.io provides complete audit logs out of the box. Every permission check is logged with context. So when you're looking back and you need answers, you've got them. Mistake number 5, authorization token bloat. I have a real example from a SaaS company. Their JSON Web Token grew to 8 kilobytes because they included every single possible permission as part of the token. The results were that they were getting 500 millisecond network overheads per request, mobile apps crashing from memory issues, and it was impossible to update the permissions without waiting for the token expiration. Now, you'll never have this with Permit because Permit uses efficient APIs that check permissions without bloating your tokens. Now, each one of these mistakes that I covered today represents weeks of development time and potential security vulnerabilities. That, if you're using Permit.io, it eliminates them completely. Don't let JSON Web Token authorization mislead you.